into this place of peace and let it silence your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of power and let its vision change your heart. Come into this place of peace and let it silence your spirit. Come into this place of memory and let its history warm your soul. Come into this place of power and let its vision change your heart.
Jesus spoke, entreating them to live together in a great circle of love. When his followers asked him then who should be included, Jesus said, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Oligarchs, tyrants try to keep some in, everyone else outside. Revolution sweeps across the land, and the people all stand. The common folk cry, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Sometimes a circle is a class or creed. Sometimes a circle is made of old men. Until Susan B. Anthony says, what about me? Let me in, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Sometimes a circle is a privileged thing, excluding people for the color of their skin. Till the voice of Martin Luther King says, let freedom ring, let down, let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Gay and straight, rich and poor, old and broken, open up that door. The more we are, the greater we become. After all, we all are one. Bringing the people, but don't stop there. Bringing the fish in the sea, birds in the air. Bringing the rivers wide, mountains tall. We go together, but not at all. Let everybody in, everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, everybody, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, 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 everybody.
Good morning, and welcome to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. We are delighted to have you here attending virtually. It is good to be together, near and far, a community of youth, adults, and children, sharing the values of courage, reverence, and compassion. I'm Kristen Daniels, she, her, and I am a member of our board of directors. Our ministry team will be running Cyber Social Hour beginning 5 minutes after the postlude. The Zoom link is in the chat and on our website. It is a 20-minute session of conversation and sharing designed to provide deep and intentional welcome to all. Children and youth, as well as adults, are welcome to attend, and we'll have a special breakout group for our youngest members. If you have a request for today's meditation, please place it in the Zoom chat box. If you are new today, please fill out a guest card. You can find the link in the chat box or on the website. And please be sure to sign up to be a part of our e-news mailing list, where you'll learn about everything happening here at White Bear Universalist Unitarian Church. We encourage you to attend Self-Guided Soul Work Wednesday. This will take place in person at the church every Wednesday this month and next from 3 to 6 p.m. This is a choose your own adventure time of spiritual care and nourishment for all ages, and is designed for folks to drop in as your schedule allows. All activities will be physically distanced. After the announcements, there will be a short preview video of the experience. Worship next week will continue to be all virtual, but we are hoping to return to multi-platform worship beginning February 20th. Make sure to check the e-news to find out more. And this afternoon at 12:30 will be the first of our gatherings for the Relational Covenant conversations. Youth and adults are invited to join us to brainstorm about what needs to be in the covenant. A relational covenant is a written, living agreement of how the members of our congregation aspire to interact with one another. And we need your input. Look for the link to sign up in the e-news and chat box. Besides myself, service participants today include Reverend Roger, Kate Heathcote, Reverend Sarah, and Nico Van Ostrad. Behind the scenes support from Aaron Scott and Amy Peterson-Derrick. Music today is from Peter Mayer, Stephen Wallach, Alice Delaney, and the OK Factor. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Welcome to Wednesday night self-guided soul work. Between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. on Wednesdays through February, we welcome everyone of all ages to come into this space and tend to your spirit with one or any of our invitations into a deeper practice. In the social hall, we invite you into a labyrinth practice. Here you can enjoy soft music in a quiet space for movement meditation. We have 2 different floor labyrinths, and you'll find finger labyrinths on the table at the back, along with LED candles for candle lighting. In the atrium, we invite you into a storytelling practice. Through the month of February, we will create a community mosaic with our stories. In the alcove, we invite you into a practice of deeper conversation and listening. Light a chalice and engage in conversational soul work with a small group. Dive into the monthly theme or use the prompts provided as you deepen connections with others. Finally, in the sanctuary, we invite you into a meditation and intention practice. Here you can find quiet space for prayer and meditation with soft music and lighting in our beautiful sanctuary. You can light a candle, journal, or add prayers to our prayer bowl, or you can just simply be in the space. However you choose to grow your soul, we hope that you find space for contemplation, exploration, and connection here at WBUUC on Wednesday nights.
Come in, everybody, come into this place which we make holy with our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here, you need not hide, nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this place where we can touch and be touched, heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this place where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this place. Together, we make it a holy place. Katie Heathcote will lead us in our chalice lighting today.
Good morning. I'm Katie Heathcote, member here at Wbuc. Lighting the chalice is a tradition for us each week as we come together. It symbolizes help and sacrifice, among many other interpretations. Our theme for February is widening the circle. I have to admit that I needed clarification on the reference. Reverend Sarah shared that UU leaders of color were asked to share their insights into how the UUA could continue forward momentum in the middle of yet another racially charged moment. A report entitled Widening the Circle of Concern resulted. Sarah shared that, in a sentence, the content boils down to, in spite of our promise of our movement, we still need to address the bias and oppression within our systems to build resilience in our living tradition. I can't help but think of the chalice as a reminder of how we can each be a part of that resilience. White UUs sacrificing the comfort of the status quo, demolishing old systems to make room for new and past due growth. To widening the circle.
Please join me in our opening words. Love is the spirit of this church and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Please join now in singing our hymn, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, number 188 in our Singing the Living Tradition.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again, come.
This morning's story was inspired by a tale called The Emperor's New Clothes, which has been adapted and retold in Spain, Germany, India, and elsewhere, and it has been adapted once more in its telling today. There was once a child named Minda who lived near the palace of the king. Minda loved watching people bustling past her home, going to and from the castle. She admired the bright, scaly fish being carried up to the royal banquets. She was especially fond of the musicians with their bamboo flutes. Minda thought it must be lovely to be the king, surrounded by fancy things, important people, and beautiful music. One day, Minda sat in her doorway watching the people go by. Her attention was drawn to a man in fancy clothing, a fine, spotless white barong with the most intricate designs she'd ever seen embroidered onto the front. "Excuse me, sir," Minda called out. "I have never seen such beautiful clothes. Where did you find this design?" The man turned with a smile. "Why," he said, "I made it myself. I'm on my way to see the king, to show him my craft and offer to make a royal outfit. Do you think he will be impressed by my skill?" "I do not know anyone on the whole island who would not be in awe of your skill," Minda said respectfully. The man laughed. "You are kind, little girl." He leaned in closer and lowered his voice. "Let me tell you a secret. I have a special cloth, a magical cloth, which can only be seen by those with a kind heart. Anyone who looks upon it but cannot see it is surely untrustworthy and evil and should be sent away from the island immediately." Untrustworthy and evil? Who on her island could be such horrible things? A terrifying thought struck her. What if I can't see it? "Would you like to look at this magical cloth?" Minda turned and ran back into her house, slamming the door behind her. She was too scared to look at the cloth. Minda didn't think she was untrustworthy and evil, and she certainly did not want to be cast out of the kingdom, but what if she couldn't see the cloth? Several days passed, and Minda nearly forgot about the man and his beautiful clothes and magic cloth, but then posters began going up all over town that reminded her of her worry all over again. "Royal Parade," the posters read. "Tomorrow afternoon, come see the king in his new clothes made of special cloth that can only be seen by those who are kind at heart. Any person who cannot see the cloth is untrustworthy and evil and will be banished from the island immediately." That night at dinner, Minda could tell that both of her parents were worried. They didn't say much, and when Minda asked her dad how he was feeling, he said he was happy, but he tugged on his earlobe as he said it, the way he always did when he told a lie. Minda didn't know why her parents were pretending they weren't worried when she could tell so clearly that they were. Finally, she decided to say something. "I'm worried. What if I can't see the cloth? Will I have to leave the island?" Her parents looked at each other quickly. Then her dad said, "Don't worry about it, Minda." "But I am worried." "Shush, Minda, come help clean up." Minda went to bed feeling worried and confused that night, and she woke up feeling the same way. She was not at all looking forward to the king's parade. Minda sighed a big, lonely sigh as she stood with her dad, waiting for the king to approach. Slowly, the king came into view, and it looked to Minda like he was wearing nothing but his underthings. "Oh no," thought Minda, "I can't see the cloth." Minda whispered to her dad, "Can you see the cloth?" "Of course I can," he whispered back sharply, but he tugged on his earlobe as he said it, the way he always did when he told a lie. Minda looked around the crowd. She wasn't sure why exactly, but it seemed to her that all the grown-ups were feeling nervous, and it made her feel nervous too. A scary thought hit Minda. What if no one in this town can see the cloth? What if we're all untrustworthy and evil? What if we all have to leave and live somewhere else? But that didn't seem right to Minda. She knew her own heart, and she knew that it was good. She knew that her parents' hearts were full of love. She knew that her teachers and friends and neighbors were kind. She thought that maybe everyone did mistakes or did mean things sometimes, but she didn't think that that meant they were evil people. There must be some other explanation, Minda thought. Maybe the man with the fancy cloth lied. Maybe there really is no magic cloth at all. That must be it. All of the grown-ups are pretending to believe something that Minda knew was not true. Minda wasn't sure she was brave enough to say something, but she knew it wouldn't be fair if someone was banished from the island because of a lie. She knew she would feel better if all of the grown-ups would talk about why they were feeling so nervous. And she even thought the king would probably want to know so he could put on a robe. She knew that talking about the problem would be difficult, but pretending the problem didn't exist would be even worse. Minda took a deep breath and said loudly, "We have all believed a lie. There is no magic cloth, and the king is wearing nothing at all." The king and the grown-ups felt very foolish indeed, but they knew Minda's words were true, and in the end, no one was banished from the island.
Join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Do what you need to do to be comfortable in your body. Take a breath, maybe, or soften your gaze, close your eyes. Take a moment to listen to this prayer by the Reverend Elizabeth Wbuc. Spirit of life, love which holds us, we gather in reverence and thanks for you. We are grateful for the gift of another breath and for each moment of connection, beauty, and truth. Cry with us in our pain for our world. Remind us that we are loved just as we are. Remind us that we are connected with all that is. Remind us that we do not journey alone. Give us what we need for today. Call us back to our promises, commitments, and values. Help us love ourselves and each other, and to show that love in our actions. Make us instruments of justice, equity, and compassion. Free us from all that is evil. We declare that life and love are stronger than tyranny and fear, that a world of beauty and love is coming, and we must shape it together. May it be so. Amen. An important part of our worship experience is sharing the burdens and joys in the life of this community. We hold these members and friends in these prayers. We hold Kate Holden, who hopes she will be able to feel some love. Anne is asking for prayers from Ellen Galway, for Ellen Galway Ebby, and all those that are living with health issues that are not getting the timely and needed attention due to the challenges of the medical system because of COVID. Michelle asks us to please watch over the Shaw family today for the loss and medical challenge they continue to experience. Nancy Reichow, whose older sister is struggling with metastatic breast cancer in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Prayers for Amira Locke, for Minneapolis, for all of us. Melissa Stoddard, whose mother-in-law, Shirley Stoddard Hill, died on Friday. Never one to withhold her opinions, she was the beloved matriarch of the Stoddard family. Jim Cooper, who lost his 97-year-old mother on January 18th. He and wife Cheryl Riley were in Maryland at her bedside. The family of beloved longtime member Bill Bushnell, who died on February 4th. Bill's children, Maria and John, were with him in his final hours. Memorial service will be held at a later date. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we will remember him. I invite you now to share the names of those who are on your heart so that we can share the joys and the burdens together. Blessings on them all. Amen.
This Sunday's special collection will provide funds for a unique and important project of WBUUC, the North Star Youth Outreach Center. In 2016, our Social Action Committee opened a drop-in day center for youth who are experiencing homelessness by partnering with Tubman in St. Paul. Ron Ofsted and Dan Wackler initiated the effort and coordinate our program today. The North Star Youth Outreach Center is located in the Maplewood Mall. At the center, youth experiencing homelessness can access clothing, food, personal care supplies, school supplies, computer time, laundry facilities, and a wide range of Tubman's support services. We continue to provide financial support for the rent at the Maplewood Mall site and coordinate volunteers for the center. As always, you can give 3 ways: online, send a check, or text to give. No matter how you give, please indicate the keyword youth. And thank you for your generosity and faith in this life we lead together.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on until I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere.
Our first reading is The History Teacher by Billy Collins. Trying to protect his students' innocence, he told them the Ice Age was really just the Chilly Age, a period of 1,000,000 years where everyone had to wear sweaters. And the Stone Age became the Gravel Age, named after the long driveways of time. The Spanish Inquisition was nothing more than an outbreak of questions, such as, how far is it from here to Madrid? What do you call the matador's hat? The War of the Roses took place in a garden, and the Enola Gay dropped one tiny atom on Japan. The children would leave his classroom for the playground to torment the weak and the smart, mussing up their hair and breaking their glasses, while he gathered up his notes and walked home past flower beds and white picket fences, wondering if they would believe that soldiers in the Boer War told long, rambling stories designed to make the enemy nod off. Our second reading is I Look at the World by Langston Hughes. I look at the world from awakening eyes in a black face, and this is what I see. This fenced off narrow space assigned to me. I look then at the silly walls through dark eyes in a dark face, and this is what I know. That all these walls oppression builds will have to go. I look at my own body with eyes no longer blind, and I see that my own hands can make the world that's in my mind. Then let us hurry, comrades, the road to find.
Start where you are. Head in your hands, cotton in your ears, stone in your heart. Start where you are. Ocean in your eyes, tears are like rain inside a bigger sky. Oh, there is a change coming on. Oh, there is a chance to wake up to what is going on. Start where you are, thinking you know, falling on your face, you can see the road. Start where you are, wherever it is. Loving can break your heart, but fear will do you in. 'Cause there is a change coming on. Oh, there is a chance to wake up to what is going on. Start where you are. Start where you are. I say to myself, telling the truth is loving, even when it's hell. Start where you are. Stretch open your mind. Oh, that's how we'll come together. Oh, can we come together? 'Cause there is a change coming on. Oh, there is a chance to wake up to what is going on. Start where you are.
One of the heroes of our faith is Thomas Starr King, a famous Unitarian and Universalist minister in the 1800s. Thomas Starr King is credited with keeping slavery out of California and keeping California in the Union during the Civil War. He was a leader and a prodigious fundraiser for the U.S. Sanitary Commission, an organization that provided badly needed medical care to hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the Civil War. He was renowned for his brilliant sermons and his compassionate heart. Among the many people who were inspired and influenced by Thomas Starr King was the family of the noted scientist David Starr Jordan. In fact, Jordan's middle name honors Thomas Starr King. Though Jordan rarely went to church as an adult, he strongly identified with the Unitarian faith. He was influenced and shaped by our faith, and we often have claimed him as one of our own. Jordan was a legendary ichthyologist. Ichthyology is the study of fish. He is credited with discovering thousands of species. Twice, he lost his lifetime collection of fish specimens, once when a bolt of lightning set fire to the office below his at Indiana University, and then a second time when he was at Stanford in the 1906 huge earthquake in San Francisco, put all of those specimens on the floor. He served as the founding president of Stanford. And each time that his fish collections were destroyed, he set about rebuilding them. As Lulu Miller asserts in her brilliant book, Why Fish Don't Exist, Jordan's passion for ichthyology was driven by a fervent need to find order and to classify the world. Though he didn't believe in a God who oversees creation, he did believe there was a natural order in the world. Science was about finding that order, and he hated disorder, what he would call chaos. Here's an illuminating story about Jordan. When his search for a new fish species took him to a village in the Italian Alps that was populated by people with mental and physical disabilities, cared for by the Catholic Church, he saw not a scene of compassion and beauty, but a scene of disorder. The village was, in his words, a veritable house of horrors. You see, Jordan divided people, classified people into two categories, the fit and the unfit. At the top of the fit category were Nordic people, white Northern Europeans. And at the bottom, in the unfit category, were people with disabilities and people of color. Not surprisingly, knowing that, Jordan became an enthusiastic proponent of eugenics. He wrote several prominent eugenics books, including The Blood of the Nation, a study of the decay of races through the survival of the unfit. This book, along with several other books that gave precious cover to eugenics as a serious and constructive field of scientific endeavor, were published by Beacon Press. Beacon Press, the publishing house of our Unitarian Universalist Association. Jordan, in fact, had more books published by Beacon Press, 19 in all, than anyone has ever had. The Nazis used Jordan's books and other Beacon Press books as justification for genocide. Neo-Nazi organizations continue to use Jordan's work. Just in 2019, a neo-Nazi group put out a condensed version of his book, The Blood of the Nation. Now, Jordan also supported the Anti-Imperialist League. This was an organization that opposed American colonization and imperial efforts in the Philippines and in Hawaii and other places in the Pacific. This kind of sits better with our contemporary Unitarian Universalist values, except when you find out the reason, which is that he did not want white American bodies dying in war, and he worried about contamination of the white blood gene pool from Philippines people. So maybe Jordan was just a rare bad UU apple. Nope. My colleague, Reverend Fred Muir, has written a paper that documents in numbing detail the widespread enthusiasm for eugenics among Unitarians and Universalists. Famous Unitarian Universalists who supported eugenics in a way, one way or another, included the Nobel Prize winning scientist Robert Millikan, Planned Parenthood founder Margaret Sanger, and Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., who wrote the majority opinion in a forced sterilization case that included this horrifying line, 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. Fred Muir uncovered also extensive support for eugenics among UU ministers, from the presidents of our denomination to numerous UU ministers who enthusiastically entered and sometimes won sermon contests sponsored by the American Eugenics Society. One of these folks who entered the contest caught my eye just because of proximity. It was Reverend R. Homer Gleason, the minister of the First Universalist Church of Rochester, Minnesota. In his paper, Seduced by the Sound of Science, Unitarian Universalism in the Eugenics Era, which I'm using extensively today, Muir concludes that Unitarians and Universalists had an outsized role in eugenics. Beacon Press and scientists like Jordan gave invaluable scientific and religious legitimacy to eugenics. In a different paper, Muir persuasively makes the same claim about an outsized Unitarian Universalist influence on the imperial conquest of Hawaii and the Philippines. He writes about a Reverend John Stevens, who served as the ambassador of the United States to the independent Kingdom of Hawaii. Stevens plotted with American businessmen like Sanford Dole to overthrow the monarchy and annex Hawaii. And Muir writes about William Howard Taft, who served as the first civilian governor of the Philippines before serving as president of the United States. Now, Taft opposed occupation of the Philippines, but since this was a fait accompli, he felt deeply called to give the Philippines what he called a good form of government, namely, in his view, the American form of government. He said, "We hold the Philippines for the benefit of the Filipinos." As Muir writes, of course, Taft and those who followed him decided what was for the benefit of the Filipinos. I also note that Taft later served as Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court and joined Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. in that decision about forced sterilization. I really wish all of you were here today. If you were in this space, I would ask you for a show of hands of who finds this information about our spiritual ancestors surprising. I know I've been shocked to learn about this only in the past few years. Eugenicists? Imperialists? Our spiritual ancestors? I probably shouldn't have been surprised. Now, it's important to acknowledge that some Unitarian Universalists opposed eugenics. Some opposed imperialism. Some did so for reasons that are more compelling and virtuous than Jordan and his fear of Filipino contamination of white American blood. But Jordan and Robert Milliken and the Rochester minister who entered that sermon contest, and President Taft and Ambassador Stevens and presidents of our Unitarian and Universalist associations, they were in the mainstream of our faith in the early part of the 20th century. So if these folks weren't just a few bad apples, then we have to ask, why our faith so easily and powerfully aligned itself with eugenics and with imperialism? Why did so many of our spiritual ancestors have a significant role in these twin evils? What if that involvement wasn't in spite of our faith, but partly because of it? This is the difficult question that Fred Muir ponders. And he suggests that there are indeed several strands of our Enlightenment-informed faith that probably were at play. One he lifts up is our excessive focus in American Unitarian Universalism on individual freedom at the expense of the good of the whole circle, when the circle is widely drawn. Another strand is the commonly held belief among Unitarian Universalists that American democracy is the ultimate form of human government. Many Unitarian Universalists historically have embraced the idea that the United States is the city on the gleaming city on the hill, with Unitarian Universalism as its most enlightened faith. Muir points to an example of Unitarian Universalist exceptionalism that was in our hymnals in the early part of this century, but actually also is in our current gray hymnal. It's hymn number 138. Hear the first verse of this hymn. These things shall be, a loftier race than e'er the world hath known shall rise, with the flame of freedom in their souls, with the light of science in their eyes. It's not hard to see how a sentiment like that could get expressed by our spiritual ancestors toward eugenics, toward imperialism, toward forcing American-style democracy on the Philippines people for their own good. I've understood for a while that Unitarian Universalists are prone to sin just like anybody else because, well, we're human, which means we're flawed. But for many years, I would follow that observation with a kind of joke that, well, at least we haven't killed people because of our faith, but maybe only because we've never really had the power to do that. But now, thanks to Fred Muir's work unearthing all this, I've seen our faith without the clothes of white supremacy. When we did have disproportionate power in the early part of the 20th century, we did use, many of us, our faith for ill. The truth is that Unitarian Universalists, guided at least in part by our faith, have killed people. Filipinos who opposed having our government imposed on them. Unitarian Universalists who harmed people, poor women, women with disabilities, women of color, by forcing them to be sterilized, just because some of us declared them unfit. So we need to know, we need to engage with this part of our faith story. We need to stop celebrating just the Thomas Starr Kings while we ignore the David Starr Jordans. We need to avoid being like the history teacher in Billy Collins' poem, Whitewashing UU History, to protect our innocence. We need to look at our history as it is, without the clothes of white supremacy legacy. And if we don't do this work, we will continue to make the mistake, be prone to Unitarian Universalist exceptionalism. We will not be able to widen our circle. We will not be able to become a more truly beloved community. We will not be good allies in the long struggle against racism and other oppression. And I think three spiritual traits will serve us well in this work that we must together do. First, an openness to rigorous self-examination of our faith, who we've been as a religious people, and the ways, good and bad, that our faith has impacted the world. The doorway to transformation will not open if we don't do this work. Second, we need to bring the spirit of humility to this work. Humility about the United States, about our Unitarian Universalist faith. And third, we need to embark on a process of repair. How can American Unitarian Universalists repair the damage our faith has done to people in the Philippines, to all those who still are harmed by that legacy of eugenics? Reparations aren't just about money, though that's a piece of it. Reparations begin with a fearless accounting. We need to begin with that fearless accounting of our faith's impact and then finding ways to make amends, to make repairs. You and I didn't subjugate the Philippines. We didn't write eugenics books, but many of our spiritual ancestors did. We owe it to those who were harmed. We owe it to the goodness and beauty that also is in our faith. Indeed, we owe it to those spiritual ancestors who perpetrated this harm to do this work of understanding what happened. And may I suggest to those of you who view this sermon as ancient history, irrelevant, or as political, not spiritual, that this is profoundly spiritual work. As any person in a 12-step recovery program understands, open and honest, rigorous self-examination, humility, and doing the work of repair are essential steps in the spiritual journey. Another shooting, another killing in our own area this weekend, this last week, underscores the need for us to do this work. It's all connected. And friends, this is not easy work. It's much easier to pretend everybody in UU history was like Thomas Starr King. It's easier to pull into our shells and just look at our own spiritual journey. But what has been best in our history? The Thomas Starr Kings of our history. Well, what they did was not easy. He risked his life to keep slavery out of California. We can do this new hard thing. I believe we can do it. I believe that we have the hands and the hearts and the minds to do this work. Let's get going. Our closing hymn today is number 155, Circle Round for Freedom. Please join in singing.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned. Circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for each soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned.
I'm going to use the same benediction words that I used last week. These come from James McGaw, and they need to be heard more than once. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourselves or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace, seeking justice. I mean go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace, in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. May all of us, in that spirit, go in peace.